Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if this is your first time here, and to another ASMR video. And I'm going to be attempting a Bob Ross by the number canvas painting, which you can see in the center of the screen. Now these are mini canvas varieties, and if you saw my unboxing video, you will have learnt a little bit about the set and what comes in it. So I thought this would be a good starting point for the Paint by Numbers series. So let's just run through some of the equipment that I'm going to need to complete this canvas. Over on the left here we have our paint palette, and it is plastic in nature. And I'm going to use this to mix some of the paints up to produce the colours that I need to complete our canvas. So that's going to come in very handy. And just beside it we have our scenic landscape portrait here, which has been probably completed by Bob Ross himself. It's a very professional look to it. What I produce isn't going to be anywhere near as good as this, unfortunately. And below that we have our numbers that we're going to refer to complete our canvas here. So unlike other paint by number varieties, this mini set actually doesn't have the numbers on the canvas itself, but rather on a separate sheet for you to refer to. So I think that's really handy. And here we have our colours down at the bottom. So we have sort of a light blue, sort of a darker blue, then we go along, we have some greens here at the end. This is pink and sort of a purpley colour. So yeah, we will see how this goes. I can't guarantee that I will be able to mix these colours perfectly, but we're going to give it our best shot. The next thing I have here is a packet of paintbrushes that you may have seen in a 5-minute ASMR episode. And I'm actually going to be using one of these brushes today. And I think for this canvas being as small as it is, I'm going to select the thinnest brush. So let's just see if we can take it out of the pack here. I think it's probably this one here at the end, which is a number 1. So I think that probably is the slimmest paintbrush in the pack here. So I'll just seal it back up there. And we can put our paintbrushes to the side, as we're not going to be needing the rest of those. So we have our paintbrush here. And I think I could even do with a thinner brush than that, but this is the thinnest in the pack, so we're going to have to do our very best to paint our canvas as neatly as we can. And the next thing we have are our paints here, which come in this little bag. So we have our primary colours: blue, red, and yellow. brush throughout the process. And I also have a piece of newspaper here, which I'm going to put the canvas on, just to make sure that I don't get any paint on the mat here. So we'll just position that about there with our canvas on the top. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so the last thing I have is our water here in the corner, and I'll be using that to also clean the brush as well. So I think that is just about everything except for the booklet here, which I will keep to the side and refer to in order to hopefully get the right shade of colour. So we're going to give this our very best shot and see what we can produce. I can't promise that it's going to be brilliant, but it is going to be fun to try and hopefully relaxing at the same time. And the very last thing I have to show is this pack of chewing gum that I'm going to be having a piece of today. So this is a packet of extra spearmint. So I'll just open that up. And take a piece out. So this is sugar free, of course. I wouldn't take chewing gum that had sugar in it. So we can pop that to the side and begin chewing our piece of chewing gum. One final thing that I will mention before we get started is that I have some facts about Bob Ross to share throughout the painting process, so make sure to stick around for those if you're interested to learn a little bit more about the great man himself, Bob Ross. So, the first number we have to do here on our canvas is number 1, and that is this section here, and I believe there is a number 1 here as well, and here as well. So we have these sections to do first, and that is the light blue color. So we're going to need blue and white to mix here. And let's just see if I can open up the pot here without spilling any. So here we have some blue paint. So let's just go ahead and put some of our blue paint into this pot here. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we'll see how much I'm going to need. So this is the paint that came with the kit, which I've heard is a bit watery. So I'm just going to put some of it out there. And then I'm going to need some white paint as well. So I'm just now trying to mix the white with the blue to see if we can get this nice light blue shade. So hopefully I'm doing this right. this method's working quite well. So let's mix that all in. And hopefully you can tell that the blue is becoming quite light in nature. I'm surprised at how much white I actually need here. Hopefully that's going to be enough there. I'm going to go with that. So we can just put our white paint to the side. Make sure we don't spill any. So let's just mix this white all in with the blue. So there we go. I'm going to go with that colour. It's not quite as light as the picture, but let's go with it anyway. Okay, so let's just get a bit of the paint on the brush here. Not too much though. It's quite liquidy, this paint. So I'm just spreading it very carefully. But in terms of the colour, I am quite happy with it. So guys, our first fact about Bob Ross is that when he was a child, he would often help injured animals. And at one stage, he actually helped an alligator when he was living in Florida with his family. And he kept the alligator in the bathtub. Which is quite an interesting fact. And even into adulthood, he always cared about animals. And he often played host to orphaned animals in his adult life. And one of those was an epileptic squirrel that lived in his empty jacuzzi. So yeah, he had a lot of compassion towards animals, which I really like. I always trust people who are animal lovers. And similarly, I don't trust people who don't like animals. Of course it is up to an individual, but that's just my kind of take on it. So yeah, it's nice to learn that Bob Ross was a big animal lover and cared a lot about them. paints are very thin, as I've seen in videos. Paints are quite liquidy, but I'm happy enough to use them for this opening canvas, and maybe down the line another canvas I can attempt to complete it with proper sort of acrylic paints. But yeah, I think this is almost number one complete. And I do like the colour that I've produced. It's quite close. Now that I've seen it on the canvas, quite close to the picture, and we can compare the picture and my canvas at the end, I suppose, just to see how close we get. So I'm just looking for the last number one, which is here. It's a very small area, so I have to be extremely careful. This being a tiny little canvas, you do have to be extremely cautious. You don't want any of the colours to run into sections that are going to be needed for other colours. So I'm just looking at our picture now to see if we have any more number ones. And we do have a tiny bit just here. Just this little section here. So let's just see now. Yeah, I believe that is all of the number ones complete. So let's just rinse our brush there, get that paint off it, and we can move on to our next section, number two, which is a slightly darker shade of blue. So we're going to need the blue pot once again, and I'm going to mix it into this bowl here. And I'm sure I could probably mix it into that one, but I'm going to choose to just mix it into separate bowls. This being my first time, I'm quite nervous about doing this. So this section requires a fair bit of paint, so let's empty a fair bit in there. And following on from that, we're going to need some white, not a whole lot of white like the first paint, but we will need some. So let's just rinse off our brush again. Make sure it's nice and clean. We don't want to mix any blue paint in with the white here. So now we need to add just a bit of white to this. I think I'm going to go with that. Maybe add a little bit more. It's kind of a... yeah, I'm going to add a very small bit more. Just being very cautious as I don't want to get any blue into the white pot. So number two, we have this top section here, and we also have these sections here at the bottom. Yeah, so let's begin with the top section, I think, and work our way down. So let's just move left to right here, and hopefully this is going to look a bit darker than the first section. bit light, so I'm actually going to add a bit of more blue to it, as I'd like it to be a bit darker. I just don't want those two sections to be too similar in colour. So yeah, this is purely experimental for me, being my first time. This is literally my first time mixing paints and painting on a canvas, so I don't expect it to be brilliant, but we'll see how it goes. And I think this is supposed to be the sky. So I'm just having to be very careful here not to go over the lines. Just having to be ultra careful to make sure that I'm painting the right sections, because if you were to paint a section wrong, I don't think there'd be any coming back from that. And I think as we progress with this, it's going to get more difficult, as there's less places on the canvas for me to kind of keep it still. Although I'm probably just being overly cautious, I could try it with just the one hand and see how that feels. I'm not sure I need to hold it down exactly. Yeah, so this whole thing is really a big experiment. But I'm actually really enjoying it so far, and I hope you guys are as well. If you are enjoying it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new, for plenty more videos like this. This is just one of the themes I do on the channel. This is my very first attempt, as you know, but we have lots of other varieties of videos on the channel, so hopefully you can find something to your liking. I try to come up with new ideas all the time, just to have plenty of variety on the channel for all different people. What one person likes, another may not. So yeah, I just try to cater for all sort of types, personalities, and things that people enjoy watching. And I do try to incorporate various sounds and triggers into videos. So we have sort of unboxing videos and things of that nature, which tend to have more of the sounds, like tapping sounds and crinkles and things like that. But yeah, I try to come up with new ways to make videos enjoyable and engaging. So guys, our second Bob Ross fact of the day is that Bob Ross was actually an Air Force Master Sergeant in the US Air Force, that is. Which is quite an interesting fact that I did not know prior to making this video. So yeah, he's well known for his calm voice and gentle sort of demeanor. But he actually spent just over 20 years in the US Air Force and managed to reach the high rank of Master Sergeant, which basically means that he was the guy who told everybody else what to do, and I've come to learn that he was quite strict, and he did yell a fair bit, which is quite interesting because we all know him as being so gentle. So yeah, he did really well in reaching that very high rank in the Air Force. He really was a great man. He died far too young. I believe he died in 1995. I was just reading about it there last night. So I am now almost finished this here bottom section of number 2s. And I think that is all the number 2s done. So we can clean our brush off now. Hopefully remove all of the blue on it. And our next number, number 3, we have a 3 here. Here. Yeah, there's quite a lot of 3s. It's this sort of teal type color. In fact, it's more sort of grey, I think. So we're going to need some black and white paint. So let's now open our black pot here. So I'm not exactly sure how much I'm going to need, so we'll start with that amount there. I will add in our white. So let's start off with that amount and see what sort of color we come up with. It should be a nice sort of greyish color here. I think we're going to need a bit more white. So let's just mix in some more white here. I think this should produce the grey colour we desire. It's quite dark, but I'm going to go with it. So let's begin our number 3s. So we have this little section here to do. advise this for anyone with bad nerves, I guess. I think if you have a shaky hand, you're going to need a very, or rather a much bigger canvas. This is very, very small, which may even make it more difficult. Take some of the paint off there, as this next section is very, very, very small. It's just here. That should do it. And beside it is just here, this part. So I probably mixed a bit much paint there, but it's okay. I'm not going to worry about using too much of the paint, because I actually have my own acrylic paint, which I can use if I run out for future canvases. But I think I will use the other paint just to see what it looks like compared to this, and then we can compare the two canvases. There are actually 3 in this set, so we can sort of try different things out for each one, sort of experiment. And now we move on to number 4, which is this pink colour. And for pink we need some red and white. There's some red. And wash our brush off again. And give it a wipe. And add our white in as well. So we're hoping to get a nice pink shade this time. Let's use plenty of the white there. I think that should be enough. Yeah, I like that. I think that's mixing well, giving us this nice pink shade. Perhaps I need it to be a little bit lighter. So let's begin over here. Try to find a spot to lean on. But on the canvas it actually does look quite similar to the pink on the page. So yeah, pleased enough with that shade. I think as we go along here, I'm getting a bit more confident with the process. Our little canvas is starting to come together quite nicely. So just being very careful here to make sure and get the right sections. So we have a very large section here, so let's load up on our paint. This is the side of our mountain. Being very careful to go around our trees here. We don't want to get any pink on our trees. I almost made a mistake there. And so let's just this is really very enjoyable and very relaxing, I'm finding. So if you've never done anything like this yourselves, I would recommend it. So we just have these thin little strips on the tree to fill in. Which are kind of tricky, I think. Just by the slim nature of them. So I'm just leaning very light. And we actually have some more to do down here. These are this sort of the trunks of the trees. I'm not sure whether they're pink exactly, but that is what the canvas is telling us. There, and just over here to the right. And I think that is all of the pink complete. And number 5 is this sort of brownish purple colour. And for that we need red and green. So let's just move our palette around a bit. And we can use this part here. So this is number 5 of 8. And I'm just looking where number 5 is. So we've got this section. Yes, I don't think I'm going to need a whole lot. So I think that will do in terms of the red. And let's open up our green pot. So that is sort of producing a nice sort of brownish green colour here. So I think we'll go with that. And what number are we on? It's number 5. So let's see now. Number 5 is up here. I don't think this colour is perfect, but we're going to go with it. I don't think you need to get the exact colours right. I think this is the colour that's furthest away from what it should be. But I think as long as we get the sections right and it looks well enough, I'm not going to be overly fussy about it. So guys, our next Bob Ross fact is that before he painted little trees and nature sort of settings, he actually painted pans, which I know sounds kind of funny, but while he was stationed in Alaska, when he was serving in the Air Force, he indulged his creative side by painting his now iconic sort of landscapes onto the side of pans. And they were golden in colour. And he sold them for around $25 a piece. And today you can actually find these pans on eBay, I believe. And they go for thousands of dollars. So I'm actually quite interested by that fact. And I feel I might actually look up eBay at some point today and have a look, see if I can find. I mean, I'm not going to purchase them or anything. So we are now almost finished with number 5. So we just have this part up here in the corner to do. And after that, we have some greens to do. And hopefully our little canvas will be complete. So I believe that is all of that colour done. So we can wash off our brush, get all the greeny brown colour off it, and move on to number 6. And number 6 is a sort of yellow green colour. So let's put some yellow into our palette here. I think that will do well for starters. And then we need some green. This yellow is quite a strong colour. It's very bright. I think it's brighter than some of the others. So we are actually learning as we go here. At the start, I started to mix it in. And I had to keep on washing the brush, but now I am sort of learning to put the two colours side by side and then mix them in. So this is giving us our yellowy green colour. And I think that looks quite well. So let's go with that and do our number 6s. So let's begin over here in the corner. It's this sort of lighter green shade that we're doing now. And that's almost exactly the shade on the page. So I'm very pleased with that. Yeah, I really like that colour. It's like a yellowy green shade for our bushes here. We have a number of different shades for this section. So we have there complete. And we also have to do over on this side. So I'm just finding a space that I can touch without touching any of the paint. This kit was actually very inexpensive, and it comes from Amazon, so if you want to check it out, the link is down in the description. Feel free to check it out on Amazon if you're interested. As a sort of artistic novice, I would say that this is the perfect sort of starting point for anybody looking to get into paint by number. And you're wanting to start off small, I would say this is perfect. Because I think I would be very intimidated if I was to attempt anything large to begin with. I have seen the larger canvases when I was browsing. I think I'll be very intimidated by anything bigger than this. So this is a really good sort of starting point. So once again, let's just wipe off our brush here. And number 7, we have a light green, which is green and white. So let's just use this section here to mix our green and white. So first of all, we'll put the green in, and now we add our white in with it. Let's go with that. that and see how that mixes. These pots are so light, you have to be very careful not to spill them. It does look kind of similar, but it's more of a milky white green, so let's go with it. And start painting our number 7s. So let's just have a look. Our number 7s. And our 7s are, or rather begin around here. So this colour that I've mixed is very sort of similar, I think, to the previous one. Not sure if it's going to come up on the camera how it looks, but I think we just about got away with it. It is more of a white green, as you would expect. It's kind of milky white green. But no, I think I've done just fine in terms of not making too much of a mess. And that is the number 7's done, and we only have one more number to do, and it is a dark green, so we're going to need green and black for this. And just while I mix this, I will tell you about our last Bob Ross fact, and it is that his haircut, the signature perm, was actually an economic choice to begin with. It was during his time on the road that he adopted his iconic hairstyle. He was teaching painting at the time, and it wasn't an extremely lucrative profession. He learned to stretch every penny as far as he could, and one of the ways he did this was to save money by perming his hair instead of cutting it. It's quite an interesting fact as well. But he wasn't actually a fan of this haircut. He sort of kept it throughout the success of Joy of Painting, as it was his signature look, and it appeared on all the merchandise and that nature. But yeah, he wasn't a huge fan of that permed haircut in the end. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed those Bob Ross facts today. I actually plan to have more in future episodes. I think it's quite fun to learn a bit about himself as we go along and sort of show our respects to the man who gave us so much pleasure over the years with the joy of painting. I do actually remember that show when I was young. I was quite young at the time, but it did air here in the UK. But we actually had our own sort of Bob Ross figure, and his name was Tony Hart. So if you want to look him up, feel free to. He was a British artist, and we had the kids' TV show, which was called Heartbeat. And he had a very gentle voice as well, I recall. He was sort of sort of made out of putty and brought to life through sort of animation. And it was his actions that were how you knew what he was doing. I haven't actually seen Morph in years. I might actually look him up later on as well. I have a lot to look up later, don't I? This is actually the biggest section that we're saving for the end. Number 8 has the most to paint. We are close to completing it. Excited to see how it turns out. I haven't actually sort of taken a step back yet and looked at it at a distance, which I think is going to be the test. But yeah, I saw a video of a woman painting this, and she was actually an artist. I don't think mine has turned out too different from hers. But it's not too difficult. It's sort of just colouring in with paints, essentially. So all you really have to do is get the colours right in terms of mixing and keep within the lines. You're good to go. And also what I must add is I'm very pleased with this brush. The brushes set were gifted to me by a viewer. So there we go, guys. I think we are just about finished with our Bob Ross paint by number canvas. So I'll just put my brush down and I can hopefully lift up the canvas and bring it a little closer to the camera to show you guys. But there we go, that is our Bob Ross paint by number canvas, which is known as the Scenic Landscape. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how that's turned out, and hopefully you guys are as well. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell as well, and you will get notified when my videos go live on the channel. But until next time, rest easy, sleep well, and I hope to see you again very soon for another video, and goodbye for now.